Hello, everybody. My name is Sydney Kneller, and I am a consultant who will be engaged with IBM to help combat ageism in the workplace. I have experience in this field and have conducted a thorough and in-depth analysis based on the research that I have seen within IBM's workforce. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it today. All right, our agenda for today is going to be reviewing a background of the issue, an analysis, solutions and communication strategy, an implementation challenge, and then we will close out with questions. All right, so background on this topic, we do have the who, what, where, when, and why here. So really who are the stakeholders involved, which is you. So we have IBM's Human Resources Department, senior exec stakeholders, managers, and the board of directors here today. Anyone can hold ageist beliefs, but it's typically the stakeholders who are the most involved or have the potential to make a difference. So that is why we are partnering with you on this effort. What we will be discussing is ageism in the workplace. Ageism is described as the practice of discriminating against someone based on their age. So it could look very different in different ways throughout your associate workforce. Where IBM's associate community, it started to date back to September of 2018 when these issues began to arise. And then why it is important to diversify your workforce and ensure groups are fairly and equally represented. So let's review why that's so important. All right. So a few points here. It is the law according to the ADEA, or Age Discrimination in Employment Act, that was put in place by the Equal Opportunity Commission in the US to federally protect those who are over the age of 40 from such discrimination. It also occurs much too often. So Gale quotes that 92% of workers who have seen age discrimination happen in the workplace or have experienced it say that it is either very or somewhat common to see. However, there is a vast underreporting problem, so the number is likely even higher than that. It is subtle, and it also creates barriers to communication as a result. So many associates may hold implicit biases without actually being conscious that they hold those biases based on the way that our minds categorize groups to process the large amount of information we see every day. So it may look very different, as I stated earlier, based on the associate. It also poses many other negative effects, both to the workplace as well as to the victims or individuals impacted. The company experiences a decrease in diversity and perspective and is not hiring the best capable and able fit associate for the job, which leads to a decrease in productivity and an increase in turnover, as well as low morale and an inconsistent workforce. For the victims, it can also lead to a lot of different physical, mental, and emotional implications as well. All right. So that brings us to why there needs to be a change here at IBM and what solutions and communication strategy I have posed as a result. So we have educational groups and opportunities, managerial action, corporate IBM policies, and like I said, a communication strategy that we will dive further into here. And I also state that in interest of respecting your time, I'll briefly cover these initiatives and communication strategy that I propose, but more information on each can be found in the report memo in front of you. All right. So first we have the educational groups and opportunities. So this was going to look like a diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI groups that provide an opportunity for associates to get involved and lead inclusivity efforts, as well as for other associates to join educational forums hosted by the DEI group to learn more about their objectives. The goal for this group is to foster a safe space within IBM's workforce that promotes diversity and inclusion throughout various initiatives and also helps to uncover implicit biases within associates. So this can look like providing mentorship opportunities where we have one-on-ones with associates. They can share personal stories and experiences that can help to eliminate or push back against implicit biases. We also have educational forums that are going to be hosted monthly. This can look like lunch and learns or webinars. And then finally, we also will distribute a DEI communication platform that we'll get more into here in just a second as well. All right, next we have managerial action. So managerial involvement is essential in enforcing actions against ageism. Managers should be aware and inform their employees about the implications of ageism and age discrimination. They should also serve as an escalation point to raising ageist concerns and encourage their associates to be aware of what ageism looks like, um, to foster accountability when implicit biases are voiced or acted upon in the workplace. So here we have coaching and check-ins, intervening with ageist bias and behavior and holding associates accountable, then offering direct reports, equal opportunities for raises and promotion as well. The one-on-ones will again help to voice experiences to help combat implicit biases, and then managers should also hold their associates accountable based on IBM's policy. So ultimately, they should disperse any monetary or non-monetary benefits fairly amongst their associates based on IBM's policy. Which brings us to exactly that, corporate IBM policies. So it's not enough to assume that your employees will not discriminate based on age. You need clearly defined policies in place as well. Corporate policies can influence managerial intervention, layoffs and firing, mandatory training, equal opportunities, health and retirement plans, communications, and the hiring and interview process. It should also take a stance against discriminatory action and reinforce that the company values and is committed to combating ageism in the workplace. So both layoffs and firing and the hiring and interview process should be clear and transparent in the way that IBM enforces layoffs and firing and how they hire as well. It should also not favor a certain age group based on either one of those. We also have the mandatory DEI training, which should include IBM's stance on discrimination, as well as how to escalate an associate's concerns and repercussions for discriminatory behavior. And then in the policy, there should also be a statement regarding the corporation's stance on equal opportunity employment, and how this company does not discriminate based on age, race, ethnicity, disability status, etc. And then finally, we have the communication strategy. So I have 6 strategies that we can put in place. A clear and robust communication strategy will showcase the importance and commitment that IBM places on diversity, equity, and inclusion of all groups, including those of all ages. The objectives of this strategy are to define what diversity means to this corporation, promote policies and initiatives, provide access to educational forums, events, and resources, and streamline solutions that IBM has put forth, as well as receive feedback to drive growth. This strategy will give associates, individuals, and groups across IBM a voice and sense of belonging, while also informing, educating, and supporting associates to adopt those inclusive attitudes. These will be a collaborative effort between DEI leadership, HR, and the senior executive stakeholders. So the first couple strategies I have here are the DEI newsletter and the DEI dashboard. They will serve to communicate monthly key solutions and initiatives such as DEI events, past event recordings, policies, educational resources, and excerpts, and they will be distributed monthly. It'll also include a link to that DEI Power BI dashboard to showcase monthly educational focuses and holidays. Strategy 3 are the DEI webinars that will offer a monthly educational focus, and associates can join virtually to learn more about biases and other ageism topics. Strategy 4 is the DEI Internal Committee Board meeting. This should also take place monthly between senior executive stakeholders and DEI leadership to ensure alignment on upcoming DEI initiatives and communications each month. Additionally, twice per year, the members should also ensure they're reviewing policies, feedback, and initiatives during this meeting to determine if improvements are needed. This kind of goes hand in hand with this next one here, DEI surveys. And those should also be sent out monthly to IBM associates and serve as a key performance indicator to drive that growth during the board meetings. It will also serve it as an anonymous platform for associates. And then finally, our external DEI communication. It should be an external blog posting that will be posted to IBM's website via monthly efforts to communicate recent DEI activity at IBM, along with diverse recruiting and hiring opportunities. All right, so our implementation challenge that we could potentially run into here is that DEI solutions and communication may be considered a risk of opening up the corporation to scrutiny, as well as providing a platform to do so. So because of this, some may shy away and not talk about it in fears that they may say the wrong thing. However, based on what we discussed today, the benefits highly outweigh the risks, and most of the corporation will be appreciative that they are being represented and that their voices are being heard. All right, so with that, I do want to thank you so much for joining today, and I will go ahead and open it up for questions. If you do not feel comfortable voicing your questions here, you can certainly also email me or call me at the number displayed here on the screen.